I actually think it's a very interesting story. I have my friend's mother runs a school for girls who are like a little bit not religious. They're like, should be going off the derech.
Morning.
And she was once approached by a girl, and the girl she was like a graduate of the school. She was married and whatnot. And she said, Rebbe, I don't know what to tell you, but I stopped keeping Shabbos. And the Rebbe was like, what do you mean you stopped keeping Shabbos? She's like, well, it's just too hard or whatever. She said, I feel bad. I know Shabbos is very important. I want to have something to do. And the Rebbe said, well, here's what you'll do. You'll go to Manhattan, and you'll go shopping. You'll buy yourself a gorgeous dress. And that will be your Shabbos dress, and you'll only wear that dress on Shabbos. And the girl was like, what? And the Rebbe was like, well, what was so hard? And she's like, no, I thought you were going to tell me, like, learn Tanya 5 times and say Yechi HaMelech 7 times or something like that. And she was like, no. And Ataka helped, and it worked. And within a few months, this girl had an appreciation of Shabbos because she had an appreciation. There was nothing to latch onto. So al derech zeh, I'm sure that anyhow. So we're holding Sif Daled. We were talking about the notion that you have on the mizbeach, you have wine and water that are poured, and the wine corresponds to bina. It has a flavor, it has a taste, and there's a very great appreciation of that, and that's why Einim and Shir al Yayin. However, there's another kind of avodah, which is pouring water on the mizbeach. Water corresponds to things that are above reason, because water doesn't have any flavor. You don't even necessarily make a bracha on water, which shows that it's more. In a way, it's on a higher level. In a way, it has less advantages, but in a way, it's on a higher level, and it represents the avodah that's above reason.
And to confirm, just from yesterday, because I was thinking about this after we finished, the only time water is poured on the mizbeach is on Sukkot.
Yes.
The only time.
Only time.
Okay.
So, it's explained in many drushim, many maimarim. The fact that Torah is compared to wine and to oil, it's referring to the secrets of the Torah. Because they're similar to wine and oil, in that wine and oil are things that we need to produce. Wine and oil are things that they're not revealed naturally. Water, there's streams, there's rain, there's so many ways of getting water. On Taka, there's water that's in wells underground. But water in general is something that it's there. Wine and oil are things that you need to press out. It's actually interesting, from a halachic point of view, the wine and oil are considered to be, there's different gedarim. Sometimes the wine and oil is considered to be just included in the fruit, not included in the fruit, that it's considered that it's there, just covered over.
You mean when it's in its regular form, like a grape?
When it's in its regular form, like a grape. For different applications, for things like hilchos toma, it's not considered like that. Grapes can't be makabel toma until you squeeze the wine out of them a little bit. Well, that's because it's hidden inside, essentially. But like if a person wants to squeeze grapes on Shabbos, he's not allowed to. It's kidush. If he's squeezing it onto fruit, though, he's allowed to. It's not considered bearer. It's not considered that you're taking one thing from another. It's considered separate. Don't quote me on that, though, but I think so. The difference between wine and oil is, though, that the yayin hu rasu Torah, wine is the secrets of Torah, and the shemen hu rasum derasim. And shemen is the deeper secrets. I think we're going to explain that a little bit later, but the reason why is because wine, you press it and it's out. Oil, you need to really crush the olive. It's a much more intensive process. They would need to have an extremely heavy weight. They would have a beam they would put on top of the olives. They would press it.
Is it true that the yeshiva students drink olive oil to remember things? Increase memory?
So there's a thing about olive oil increasing memory. We're going to get to also the fact, though, that before we were saying about the brachos and how the brachos allude a little bit to the nature of the thing of like the liquid, and olive oil is very interesting because on the one hand it has the bracha of Baruch. On the other hand, you can't usually make that bracha because usually if you drink straight up olive oil, it'll hurt you. And when you drink something that has the opposite of nutritional benefit, something that's actually damaging, you don't make a bracha. You're not having any benefit. Only if you're having the olive oil in a way that you're having benefit, particularly from the olive oil, in a way that isn't harmful, can you make a bracha. So just don't go drinking straight up olive oil to help. But yes, olive oil and in general rich things help with memory and help with learning.
They used to put it in coffee. I think they still do.
Coffee?
Yeah, some people put butter, other people put olive oil in coffee.
Interesting.
Because it's got the fats in it for your brain.
I had a couple of shots, and it's not the best taste.
No, it's not. That's why you don't make a bracha. It's not good for you.
But if you did do a shot of olive oil, you would make.
No, you can't. It's not healthy.
It's not healthy. I thought it was.
No, to drink straight up olive, maybe like a tiny drop.
I'm not talking I'm talking just like 15 mil or even 30 mil.
Olive oil in its pure form, like completely like without anything else, is not something that's like it's good. It's not something that's good for you to just drink straight up.
It doesn't taste good, so it must not.
It might have like health benefits in it, but like there are a lot of pills that have health benefits, but they're just nasty in a sense. They're not like it's not together food, if you know what I'm saying. It could be like together medicine, but not together food. Food, the brachas that we make on food, if you'll know the language of the Gemara, it says that you're not allowed to have benefit from the world without making a bracha. Now, there's many benefits that you can make. Like if a person is sick, they make a gaimal if they recover. But the benefit of food is that we enjoy the taste and we enjoy the. It says in the palate benefits or the throat benefits. So when we then move in from this, we understand this the Torah is compared to water. This refers to the revealed aspects of Torah. As explained in Tanya, that Tamal Zash Torah Nimshul Lamayim, who ki Kamesha Mayim Yodim Makim Gvei Makim Nomo Chacha Torah Yodim Kema Shehi Retain Chachmasi Yisparich. So the same way that water goes from a high level to a lower level, the water cycle, it rains and it falls down, and the waterfall it goes in rivers and it just goes from a place of higher elevation to lower elevation. So too, Chacha Torah Yodim Makim Shehi Retain so too, the Torah goes down from its place, which is the Ratzin and the Chachma of Hashem, and it goes down until it's in physical things in this world. And most of the halachas of Torah are in physical things. So now we sort of run into a problem, which is that on the one hand we're saying that water is on a higher level than wine because it has less of a direct appreciation, that you only make bracha on water when you're thirsty. And water represents avodah that's above reason and understanding. And wine, with all of its benefits, that Einam Shir Al Yain, you could only say songs over wine, with all of its benefits, it's still it's on a lower level because it has the flavor, it has the tam, and it represents that more common everyday avodah. But now we're saying that wine represents the secrets of Torah because you need to press it in order for it to come out, and water represents the revealed aspects of Torah. The revealed aspects of Torah being, the lower level of Torah. So, we need to understand that the beer is there who lehefech mehamavor b'memezeh. U'adoshim l'chag v'sokes be'inyan nisach hayayin v'amayim shemayim him l'mayla miyayin. So, this is seemingly contradictory to what we've explained so far in this mimer. And also in a lot of the Doshim of Sukkot, where it's explained the Shaft Mayim Sasin, that water is on a higher level. You could say the explanation in this. So, I was many times in Tiferes in the yeshiva in Morristown. There are two yeshivas, one on top of the other, and the non-Baal Tshuva yeshiva is on top, and the other one is lower. And I had a friend there, and we were learning once, and he said that seemingly everything is on the same level. And I said, what do you mean everything is on the same level? So he said, well, there's the concept that whatever is higher falls down to a lower level, right? So whenever something is on a lower level, I'm going to say, even though it's on a lower level, really it's on a higher level. And the thing that's on a higher level, even though it's on a higher level seemingly to us, but that means that it has a lower source than the thing that's on a lower level, because the thing that's on a lower level has a higher level. So he said, add everything together, and seemingly it should average out. There's some point at which it all averages out. So in a sense, yeah, everything is part of Achzus HaPashut. Everything is part of the Eibishter. But as far as things go in the world, it is important to appreciate that sometimes something that's lower has a higher source. And this is essentially the Nukud Sabir that we have over here. At least I hope that I'm getting the right sif.
I heard that concept as well, but I heard that different concept that, you have different levels, and the one that you're talking about is also the lower level of a higher level.
In that case, everything is just on the same. You're just going to keep on going off, and then really that thing that's on the lower level, the higher level, well, that thing that's the higher level, really is the lower level of a higher level.
Yeah.
So you still end up balancing yourself out.
Hi. But isn't that how the spiritual world works? That we're on a lower level, but it's a lower level of a lower level.
We're on the lowest level.
We're
on the lowest of the lowest.
But talking
levels.
about like studying Torah, you try to elevate yourself, right? So you go higher, but there's that higher could be the lower level of a different level.
Yeah. So when you're studying Torah, there's always another level to go up. But there is, like, how many numbers are there between 1 and 2? There's an infinite amount of numbers. You could have 1.1, 1.11, 1.111, and you could keep on going. And there's an infinite amount of numbers. That being said, there is 1 and there is 2, and it's a quantifiable difference. So in that way, you have the worlds of you have Gan Eden, Elyon, Gan Eden, and Tachtin, and all the things that they correspond to. Ultimately, even though a person in Gan Eden, or a soul in Gan Eden, Elyon, or in Gan Eden and Tachtin has all of the infinite levels that he can go through, and there are an infinite amount of levels that a person can go through in Gan Eden. And every time that he wants to go in between, he needs to table in the Har Dinur, and he needs to go up in the pillars. There's a whole sequence, and there's a whole thing for what he needs to do, and there's a whole avodah over there, and there is an infinite amount of avodah to be done over there. Ultimately, though, they are both. All of the avodah there is encapsulated in Gan Eden Tachtin and Gan Eden Elyon. And there's levels that are higher than that, and there's levels that are lower than that. There are an infinite amount of worlds, but a lot of times those infinite amount of worlds can be just encapsulated by the notion of the infinite amount of worlds. There's an infinite amount of worlds above Atzilus, but we do know that there's some point of relation between this lowly world and Atzilus, and that point of relation is analogous to the relation between Atzilus and Adam Kadmon. And between Atzilus and Adam Kadmon, there's an infinite amount of worlds. We know that difference is, in a sense, it can be described in the same way that we can easily describe the difference between 1 and 2, even though there's an infinite amount in between.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So we're saying over here that the difference between what we're saying over here and the notion that water is lower than wine represents, in a sense, another feature of water, which is that it goes down to a lower level. The same nekudah that makes it lower, in a sense, is what makes it so lofty. We could say the beer in this. According to the known rule, the that everything that is higher goes down lower. From this is understood that the fact that water, as far as the water itself goes, its nature is to be drawn down and revealed. Until the point where they could come down into a low place. That even though they come down below, they can go down into the lowest places below. Because the source that they come from is actually a very lofty source. According to this, we can say that the implication that you have in many Maimarim that water is lower than wine is because of their nature for how they affect the world. The water, its nature is to be drawn. Its nature is to be revealed. Its nature is that it sits out in the open. Its nature is that the rivers and the rain and everything like that, but that it's just there in its raw form. Wine, as far as it itself goes, it's hidden and covered in its grapes. And in order for it to come from hiddenness to revealedness, it's only through action and effort. This is also the reason why it says that when wine goes in, secrets come out. Because in the same way that with wine, the wine goes from a hidden state to a revealed state. That's part of the nature of wine. It's part of how wine comes down. It's not that it's a cause and effect necessarily. That because it's hidden. I mean, you could drink fruit juices and obviously there's a lot more that goes into it. There's fermentation and whatnot. But part of the nature of what wine is it's not part of the nature of wine in that sense. It's that when wine comes down, the reason why wine is hidden is because it represents this notion of taking something from hiddenness to revealedness. And the fact that we appreciate the wine is because we took something out of hiddenness and brought it into revealedness. The same thing that made that when wine came down here, when everything was in shalshal until you have the actual beverage wine, the same thing that caused that wine gets to that point is the same thing that caused that wine has this detail in its nature that it's able to draw out secrets when it's in the right way. So it's not that it's because you took it out of grapes that means that it takes things out of other people. It's because the same thing that caused that wine needs to be taken out of something caused that wine has the ability to take things out. Yeah. So you can mention yain asma ugile halam is that shaya tequila the halam coming by another yasal gile al derech ze upel gama adam shu meitzes seichbe shaya begile. That's what I just said. I
heard tequila somewhere there.
There's no tequila. No, tequila also can take out secrets. I'll have to say the same process. I mean, really, I think all fruit juices can be fermented into some kind of alcoholic beverage.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. It's not just about grapes.
Yeah, no, it's not just about wine. Wine has a certain level of chashivas, but that's another thing. Umashim or b'drushim elu d'mayim l'mayim miyayin, and what's explained in drushim that water is above wine. Whom it's admilas shir shemayim is because of the advantage of the source of the water. Shenikra gamba tabash alahem yipayel, which is recognized in their nature. Zeshi erdim l'malkim namuchu. The fact that they can go down into low places is canal, as we said, mitzad zesh b'shosham him gveyim yiser. That because of their source, they're loftier. This is also why water doesn't have flavor. Because due to the fact that when they go down, it's recognized that their source is loftier. Even when they come down below, they're above the notion of having a flavor. So we're saying water has some properties. We've discussed these properties already, and we said that water has a very lofty source, and that's why it can go down to a lower level in this world. And in this world, water is in a certain sense on a lower level. As it comes down, it's on a lower level. The fact that water doesn't have flavor is not, in a sense, a lower thing about water, even though it might, take away some of the. I mean, you would say that wine is better because it has a flavor in that sense. It has that advantage. But the fact that water has no flavor isn't actually a disadvantage in a sense. It's really a reflection of the fact that it comes from a higher source, a source that's above the notion of flavor, a source that's above the notion of that whole advantage. It doesn't have any shaykhs to water. Water just exists above that. There's something I wanted to say. This point I wanted to make. We said that water is compared to Torah. It's really, I'm trying to keep track of the sifim to make sure I'm not sharing too much from one later sif to the sif, but hopefully I'm not doing that too much. But
can I ask?
Sure.
Some sages said that you shouldn't drink too much water as well.
What?
You shouldn't drink too much water. Some sages say you shouldn't drink too much water.
I don't.
You haven't heard that?
No, I don't particularly know of that.
Okay.
I know that they say you should drink wine. I don't know.
You shouldn't drink, or did you say you should drink?
That you should.
Yeah, but not in excess.
Yeah, no, not in excess.
Only on Purim.
Yeah, that's in Nachas says not to drink wine in excess. So, what time is it? Let me just make sure I'm not going too much. Okay, no, we still have. So I'll just make this point, and hopefully we'll get something out of that. We said that water represents the real aspects of the Torah, and wine represents the secrets, and oil represents the secrets of the secrets. While, case in point, it's very easy to open up, kidush and read it. Revealed aspects of Torah are much easier to come to. Revealed aspects of Torah are actually, in a sense, much loftier than the secrets. Now, as far as we look at it, the revealed aspects are closer to us, and the secrets are further from us, and the secrets have that event. They're actually standing above us, and there's something for us to strive to more than the revealed aspects. However, the fact that the revealed aspects of Torah it does come from a higher place. And while we're looking up at all of the secrets, Hashem is looking down, and Hashem sees all the revealed aspects, and the revealed aspects are further from Him in a sense, but they're His ultimate in a sense, and that's why He made this lowly world, so that we can have an appreciation of the lower things. So water, in a sense, the disadvantage that we said that water has is in a way an advantage, in that it represents the revealed aspects.
We can relate to it.
We can relate to it, but not just that we can relate to it, because that in a sense makes it lower, because we're on the lowest level. But the fact that it's the ultimate of Torah in a sense. The secrets are the things that exist, if you want to say, closer to Hashem, and they exist more naturally. And they didn't take as much effort for Hashem to push down. But the revealed aspects of Torah, in a sense, have a major advantage in that they represent God's will, not just God's wisdom. So the disadvantage that water has is, in a sense, an advantage that's pushed down properly. This is alluded to. I hope it's not from a later stuff that I'm just pulling here.
What about Hasidus? Hasidus compared like to wine?
Hasidus is compared to wine. Hasidus is compared to it's the secrets. It's compared to oil also.
Yeah, wouldn't it be the oil?
Yeah, the oil.
Yeah. So what would? It's actually interesting just thinking about it. Water is on when you mix
oil and water.
Oil, water, and wine. Wine and water will somewhat mix, like they'll dilute each other effectively. The sediment will still be there. Oil will always be at the top, so you kind of have the hierarchy there as well.
That's one of the points we made at the beginning of the Maimar. This is the property of oil is that it floats on top of everything.
Yeah, but that's with water. But when you mix all three, even so, you see it again.
Yeah. So a lesson in practical avodah, something that seems lowly can really be lofty, and it's important to try to appreciate that even something that's lowly, like the classic example that's brought in Tanya, is if a person is in the middle of davening and there's something disturbing going on in davening, you might think, oh well, this is a very big tragedy that I'm here and there's something going on that's disruptive. But really, a person should appreciate that the lower something is, the greater advantage that it actually has. And when a person overcomes a distraction, and a person says, even though my concentration isn't as good as it would be if this thing weren't here, but the fact that I'm able to overcome the distraction actually makes the avodah higher.
Yeah.
So,
and that's also
and also appreciate the rabbi
concept.
Yeah,
That people who are struggling in life through whatever, and they can't come closer to Jewish-Kai, they have a greater power, strength to go further than people who are already.
absolutely. That's the sticker. And also listen to the rabbi's halacha share.